And you're going to have haters when you show up and you are finally her. They're going to look at you and they're not going to recognize you anymore. And they're going to try to convince you at times that that's not you and that the you that you really are is the old you. Maybe the you that was masking, or maybe the you that was insecure, because that's the you that they're comfortable with. But you have to know deep inside that you know you. No one in this world knows you better than you. I just want to remind you, just because you had to work harder for it doesn't mean that you are any less worthy of having it. If you clicked on this video, then you know it's time, girl. It's time for you to look within. It's time for you to go for it. It's time for you to take control and get everything you want out of this beautiful experience that we call life. It's time for you to become her. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Celeste Elise and I make videos to help you reach your full potential. Today I'm going to share 3 tips on how you can become her, become your best self, become that better version of you, become whatever version of you that you desire. So I want to start off by telling you a little story about the first time that I realized how much control we actually have over life. And maybe control is not the right word. How much influence we can have over our own experiences in life. This isn't control over anybody else, but this is the environment and the experiences that we allow ourselves to encounter. I'm gonna take you guys back to my awkward stages in middle school. I grew up in a very white, suburban, middle-class area. Everybody looked exactly the same. All of our houses were the same, the cars were the same, and everybody looked the same. And by look the same, I mean everybody was pretty much Caucasian, white, same look, right? So I grew up a lot of the time feeling really insecure about how I looked, you know, being the token black girl all of the time. The texture of my hair, I used to straighten the crap out of my hair. This translated into my experience in middle school, but I wasn't alone. I had a crew of friends. There was 3 of us. There was Jen, and then there's Kenzie. And Jen was a Middle Eastern girl. She was gorgeous. I mean, she had like kind of curly, kinky, beautiful, dark brown hair with these gorgeous ice blue eyes. And then my other girlfriend, Kenzie, she was actually like blonde and like green eyes. She was also beautiful. I don't know why people didn't like her, probably because we were just like all awkward and goofy and insecure. So we were somewhat of a motley crew, if you will. But the 3 of us, I remember we were like besties. We used to literally watch anime and talk about it and just being like just overly rambunctious and just like kind of a little bit of wannabes. Anyways, so it was the summer before 7th grade and we had like really became best friends in 6th grade. It was like the 3 of us, it was a trio. But we realized during the summer after 6th grade and before 7th grade that Jen was actually transitioning and she was moving to a suburb that was pretty close, but she'd be going to a different middle school for 7th grade. So we were all really sad about it, but you know, it is what it is. So Jen, the girl that had moved away to a different suburb, she had invited Kenzie and I to her birthday party, and it was around September. So this was like pretty, you know, early in this school year. So we were still pretty close. And so we were like, yes, she's gonna have this hotel party downtown Austin where we were living, and she's gonna bring all of her new friends. And she was so excited to introduce us to her new crew. And me and Kenzie were like, okay, like who could this crew be? Like, it's just Jen. Remember, like we don't have friends, like we don't have a crew like that or whatever. But we got to the party, and to our surprise, she had all of these girlfriends. She even had boys at the party in 7th grade, and that was like a huge weird thing for us. But she was like the queen bee. I mean, all of a sudden, like we would all straighten the crap out of our hair, but she started wearing her beautiful curls. Like she just looked different. The essence that she had whenever she walked into the room was completely different. And all of the friends that she had around her, it looked like she wasn't trying to have any more white friends. Like they were all Hispanic or like olive tone, darker skinned friends, to where like she would kind of stand out a little bit. Like she would fit in because she had that dark olive skin tone and like that dark hair, but she would stand out because her hair was like curly and then her eyes were like this beautiful ice blue. I don't know, something about it, it just felt like she kind of found her people. But in that instance, I remember at the party, like she was kind of putting on a show for her new friends, and she started putting down me and Kenzie and just like talking shit about us, and all of a sudden the new shows that we liked and like the jokes and all the things that we used to tell, they weren't funny to Jen anymore. And so Kenzie and I were like, nah, like what the heck, who is this new girl? And so we ended up actually getting into like a physical fight. Like they brought out the baby powder. All of her new crew friends were like hyping her up the whole time. So there was like, I think Kenzie actually, no, no, it was Jen. Jen actually slapped Kenzie, put some baby powder on her hand, and slapped Kenzie in the face. And so I was like, ah, we were like total shock. So we ended up leaving the hotel, and this is downtown Austin. Like, you know, all of our parents thought that we were going to be in the hotel the entire time. And so Jen called her mom, and like her mom came and like picked us up, and it would just ended up being like a whole thing. But I'll never forget that experience because it's like all of a sudden Jen went to this new school. She found this new crew of people that actually found beauty in her. You know, she was confident. She just literally created a whole new life for herself. And that's the first time I realized, like, if you change the people around you, if you get confident, if you change something about your look or adjust it or grow into it yourself, you can really be whoever you want to be. Because honestly, not that much had changed from the Jen that was in the white suburb school to the Jen that all of a sudden had her new crew and had the audacity to slap Kinsey in the face. Like, crazy. But I say all of that to say, like, in a sense, Jen had really found herself and she really became that girl that she wanted to be. And now I'm not encouraging all of us to like ditch our old friends and slap them in the face with baby powder and anything like that. All I'm trying to say here is that you have the ability to influence and adjust your environment to where you thrive. And you can be the queen bee if you want. If that's whatever you desire, then why not? Become her. Like, who are we here to judge? We have such a limited time and space on this world. As long as we're moving in love, and I mean, Jen definitely wasn't in that situation, but as long as we're moving in love, we can have whatever we want. As long as we are open to learning and listening, as long as we are moving in love, and we have to be intentional about it. One thing that I realized is that as humans, we have this great ability to learn. And while some things will come natural to us, other things take a little bit more time. So let's hop into it. The first thing that I'm going to ask you to do is to fix your attitude. And no, I'm not trying to say that you need to be less rude, but possibly that might also be true. But what I'm really trying to say here is that you need to fix your mindset and you need to fix your perspective. I think we have all experienced someone in our life where, you know, we met with them or we were close with them at one point in time, and all of a sudden we met them again at a later point in life, and we're like, whoa, who is this person? Who have they become? Maybe we like that new person and maybe we don't. Maybe sometimes we've even approached people at times and said things like, who do you think you are? I know the real you. You know, are you going through an identity crisis or something? Like, what's going on? And I think that's honestly just like laughable to really have the audacity to tell someone else that we know them better than they know themselves. Like, we have to be for real about that. And so we have to be for real about that in ourselves. Like, we have to give ourselves the permission to grow and change and be different. And we have to give ourselves the confidence to show up in those situations because they're going to happen. You're going to have haters when you show up and you are finally her. They're going to look at you and they're not going to recognize you anymore. And they're going to try to convince you at times that that's not you and that the you that you really are is the old you. Maybe the you that was masking, or maybe the you that was insecure, because that's the you that they're comfortable with. You have to stand up to them and you have to say no. I mean, you don't have to necessarily confront them, but you have to know deep inside that you know you. No one in this world knows you better than you. And that is just the honest truth about it. Okay. So when I say fix your attitude, you have to adjust your mindset and your behaviors. You have to truly believe that you can change and that you want to change, that there's nothing wrong with changing. There's no shame about it. There's nothing wrong about it. As long as you are choosing the characteristics, the behaviors, and the desires, the way that you show up is everything that you desire it to be, what more you can you even be, right? Like, who is this person, right? Like, you get to define that for yourself and you have complete freedom over that. And that's going to take a mindset shift to allow yourself to show up differently in your own life and in the life of others around you. So let's talk about becoming her. Like, who is her? Like, what does this actually look like for you? So I'm going to just give a couple of questions that I asked myself whenever I was going through this situation, but I think can help you identify what you actually desire and then what it takes for you to get that desire. And so what it takes for you to get that desire, whether that's a change in mindset, whether that's a change in aesthetic or the way that you show up, the way that you present yourself. I mean, it's an entire package. We have to be honest about it. We do really mean some physical changes are going to come with showing up as her and becoming her. And that's okay. Like there's no shame around that. Okay, so what I mean by that is, what would your life look like if you gave 10% more all across the board? I mean, 10% more at work, 10% more towards your career or the skills that you use in your career, 10% more in your hobbies, 10% more in your relationships, 10% more in your spiritual or your religious relationships. What would that look like? And what impact would that have on your life? If you gave 10% more at work, would you snag that new promotion, or would you actually finally have the confidence to, pivot, take a pivot in your career and go do what you actually desire? If you gave 10% more in your relationships, do you think that you would feel a lot more connected with the people around you? Do you feel like you would be more confident showing up? Do you feel like you would have the support that you need to take some of those leaps of faith or to actually show up fully as yourself day to day? If you gave 10% more in your spirituality or in your religion, what could that do for your sense of self? What could that do to improve your relationships, your well being, your mental space? What would that look like if you gave 50% more? What would that look like if you gave 100% more? Right? That's her. She gives 100% all across the board, right? Now, 100% is your 100% for the day. It's not 100% all the time, but your 100% is giving the best that you can across all of those stages or all of those different aspects of your life and being intentional about it. Now, once you've identified what her looks like, what do her relationships look like at 10% better or 50% better? Write that down. What does your spirituality or religion look like 10, 50% better? Write that down. What does your career look like 10, 50% better? Write that down. That is your specific and your unique her. Okay. Now, before we go and we start dreaming too much about this dream life, like take a step back and sit down and seriously ask yourself, why not me and why not me now? Is there something that you are just holding your own self back from achieving just because you have some sort of fear or mental block? I want to create this space for you to allow yourself to have whatever you desire out of life. If there's something that you can do right now, why not? Like when else? Okay, go for it. Now, if there's other things that you know that you need to work on, so for example, in order for you to give 10 or 50% more within your career or within your skill set, maybe you have to go back to school. Maybe you have to spend, an additional 30 minutes a day researching or learning something else. You have to build in those specific tasks into your daily habits. That's how you incrementally work towards becoming her. And I'm telling you, you can't lose in this situation. Anytime that you learn something, even if it's within a very specific area, you are just building and growing that space in your brain. And you never know where that will take you. Yes, maybe it can improve that skill, but maybe it unlocks something within your psyche or within your thought process where it's like, maybe actually I do have the confidence. Like, look at how quickly or how well I learned this skill. I can do this now. I have the confidence to show up or go for this new job or go for this promotion. You can never lose by learning. Another great area is in your relationships. You can never lose by loving more. If you show up more in your relationships, there's one of two things that will happen, right? Your friends will love it, they will embrace it, you will feel more connected to community and people around you, or your friends will reject it. And those people, the friends that reject it, were never meant for you. And it's a great thing to get those kind of people out of your life anyway. Okay. So become her, identify what are some of the things that are stopping you from becoming her at that time, and then identify what those specific habits are for you to increase 10%, 50% better across all of those areas. Now, the next, we're going to take it a little bit further here. We're becoming her. And so we are going to put effort into getting everything that we desire out of our life, right? That means everything that we want out of our career, everything that we want out of our relationships. I mean, everything that we want, even whenever we go out to eat or go to the bar or have somebody come and perform a service on our house. We are going to use the power of influence and the power of seduction. And I will always take it back to Robert Greene because he's done so much great work in this area. And specifically, I'm going to talk about the art of seduction. You can seduce anyone in your life. A lot of the times we think of seduction in like a romantic space, but you can seduce your friends, you can seduce your boss, you can seduce your plumber, and like, don't take it there, right? We're not talking about sexually or anything like that, but I'm talking about just putting some energy into making sure that everybody has a great experience every single time they talk to you. That way you can get what you want out of it. Like what would be better if you entertained your friends and you entertained the plumber, made him feel like he was a good person and appreciated, of course, within reason. Like, let's be real here. Maybe he gives you a discount. Maybe you get a free drink at the bar. Maybe your friend invites you to another event. Like, there's nothing that can go wrong with putting a little bit more intention and art to all of your different interactions throughout the day. So, I'm going to encourage you to dive deep into the art of seduction. And if there's some clips here that I can add, I will add here so that you can identify what type of seduction or seductress you naturally align to.
The siren, which is only of women. Only women can be sirens. And that's sort of what I consider the icon of seduction is the siren itself, because that's where the concept came from. And that's a woman who has a very powerful sexual energy that any man can feel. It's not overt in that they're not coming onto you, but they just radiate this kind of intense physical energy. And there's an element almost of danger to them. And that's sort of what excites the man about the siren. The greatest siren who ever lived was Cleopatra. And from what we know about Cleopatra, she had a bit of a long nose and a thin face. She wasn't like strikingly beautiful. It was her personality. So it's not about looks. It's about this energy you have and this confidence. And then the male equivalent of that is what I call the rake. And the rake is a man who has an intense interest in women. He loves women to an incredible degree, like obsesses him. But he can never be satisfied with one woman. So he has to find as many different women as possible. That kind of interest and excitement and that drama is what makes him so seductive to women, right? The rake is so motivated by getting inside the woman's skin that he becomes this incredible seducer. So those are the two top ones. Then there's the dandy. That's the kind of androgynous seducer who mixes male and female characteristics, which can be very powerfully seductive. Then there's the natural, someone who's kind of got a childlike energy. They're just so authentic. They're not faking anything. They've got that kind of innocence about them, and it's devilishly seductive. Then there's, as you mentioned, there's the coquette. Probably the most dangerous. That's the one I have problems with the most because in my past, most men have had that. The coquette, the woman or man, because that can go both ways, is someone who blows hot and cold, right? They know how to play hard to get, and they get your claws in you, and then they withdraw, and you go crazy, and you have to pursue them. Then there's the star, which as well can be male or female. That's a person who has a kind of a distance. A star is somebody that we project all of our fantasies onto. Right? We imagine that they're almost larger than life. And then there's the charismatic. This isn't so much a sexual seducer because not all the art of seduction is about sex. A lot of it's about social seduction, political seduction, marketing seductions. The charismatic is a man or a woman who's filled with this intense kind of confidence. And we feel like when we're close to them, we're getting some of their own confidence. We feed off of it. And so they don't have to say anything. Reason I wrote about them is that you out there, you have one of these qualities, at least one, maybe two. If you have three, we're all in trouble. But you have at least one of them, right? And you're going to identify with the coquette, the siren, the rake, whatever. And I'm trying to make you kind of push it up a little harder, be aware of it and how you can accentuate it and what makes it seductive so that you can kind of use it to your own effect.
I'm not a siren. I know that. I don't think I will ever be a siren. But one thing I am is I can be a coquette. I can be the natural. There's things that are naturally within me that I can align to, that I can just kind of lean on in those situations where I need to kind of become her and add a little bit more finesse to my interactions throughout the day. And the last tip, the third tip, is to dive deep into an aesthetic. Like, I feel like the different types of seductresses are very similar to the different types of aesthetics that we have going these days. Sometimes you need to just go ahead and play dress up and become someone new just physically and package it all up so that it's consumable by people around you. Right? There's so many different aesthetics that you can attach yourself. Clean girl, coquette, there's like the goth girl, there's like the it girl. I mean, there's so many you can find. But the thing about it is, it just gives you a baseline, like something that you can tangibly work towards. Like, and I'm not encouraging you guys to just like go buy a whole new wardrobe and go change your entire place, but have a little fun with it, right? Like, if it means just having a little bit more sleek style, maybe you want to lean into the clean girl, slick your hair back, wear the basic jewelry, and like some of the more clean cut, natural, neutral colors, all of those things. If that allows you to show up more confidently in your relationships, out into the world, into this space, if it allows you to feel more connected with the people around the world, with the generations, just I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, I feel like that's what we need. That's a lot of the time why people go to social media. It's part of becoming her, is feeling connected with the people in the community around her. So you can align yourself with a specific aesthetic, and that's just going to help you build that foundation and allow you to show up confidently in those spaces. And once you've had that foundation aesthetic built, we're all so dynamic. Like, I truly don't even believe that the girls online who have this like very sleek aesthetic, their whole timeline, their whole TikTok, their whole YouTube, all their social media around a specific aesthetic, I still truly believe that they still have some other aspects of all of the other aesthetics that they enjoy. And they can experience all of those too. Like for me, I started off my foundation baseline aesthetic was clean girl. And I realized that I love that, but also like I need more fun. I need a little bit more mess. I need a little bit more color. I think I align a little bit more with like a natural bohemian style, but I also really love just like the ability just to throw a couple items together and feel really sleek and run out the house. And everything else I just build on top of that, the jewelry, the colors that I add, and I get to play with it and have some fun. So I really think that the quickest, easiest way for you to become her is to, copy a little bit. Frankly, that's really what it is. Copy a little bit, get into an aesthetic, and then from there, you've got that baseline, grow on top of it, sprinkle on top of it, and that's what it's going to make it all about you and the her that is actually specific and unique to her. So, just to wrap it all up for you guys, the three things that you can do to become her, the first thing is to fix your attitude, give yourself the love and grace and space that you need to allow yourself to embrace a change. The second thing is to identify what your seductive style is, how you can influence others within all of your different interactions throughout the day and throughout your life so that you can get yourself closer to what you truly desire. And the last thing is to align yourself to an aesthetic. Be shame free about a little bit of copying. Okay, we are all influenced by others, and that is okay. We're going to build that foundational aesthetic and we're going to sprinkle on top of it. We're going to mix aesthetics and really establish our own true identity for ourselves. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. If you have any thoughts, comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Also, like, comment, and subscribe. I so appreciate you guys, and I'm having so much fun in this channel. So thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.